Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if I can have your attention, I appreciate it. I'm Jay Myers, Vice President for External Affairs at the BRF. It's great to have you here, and it's my pleasure to introduce the Chairman of the Board of the BRF, Lennis Elston.
Thank you, Jay. Welcome to the 2021 BRF Annual Meeting. I'm Lennis Elston, Chairman of the Board of Directors of BRF. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you in attendance, as well as the many who are watching via live stream. We're particularly honored to have as our guest today the Louisiana Economic Development Secretary, Don Pearson. I first want to recognize the elected officials in attendance. Elected officials, please stand. Thank you. I also want to recognize the many key stakeholders whom we collaborate with every day, representing such diverse groups as government, education, economic development, business, philanthropy, military, and healthcare. It is exciting to see these groups and more represented at the different tables today. I hope you take this opportunity to learn more about what each group is doing. Finally, I want to recognize the BRF's all-volunteer board, whose commitment to supporting our mission to diversify and grow our region's economy is an important reason behind BRF's success. Please stand. Board members. It is my pleasure to be a part of this group of people. Thank you all for supporting the BRF. We hope you enjoyed today's program. Help me welcome former BRF board member, Dr. Bernard Kimball, pastor at Mount Olive Baptist Church of Shreveport, for the invocation. Dr.
Good afternoon. Bow your heads for me, please. Eternal God, our Father, how we praise you, how we bless your name, how we thank you, O God, for just giving us this grand opportunity to be able to gather once again. And we're ever mindful, as we do, that you have truly been good to us throughout this season. We ask that you would continue to bless the BRF. We ask that you would continue to give them the grace to fulfill their mission to help build this region's future. So God, we ask right now that you would bless the food that's being prepared for the nourishment of our bodies, and that you would cleanse it right now from all unrighteousness. And then, oh God, we ask that we be mindful of those many tables that bear no food. We thank you now. Bless this meeting, bless the leadership. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Dr. Kimball. We will now take a quick break for lunch. Enjoy your meal.
The first thing I'd like to do is say thank you to everybody that showed up today. It's a great turnout. We really appreciate your support. It means a lot to us. I want to thank a few special groups before I get started. All the donors to the Center for Molecular Imaging and Therapy. I really appreciate the money that you helped us raise. I think we're on track to raise $5 million. We're at a little over $4 million now. As I passed the CMIT building this morning to come here, they got the letters CMIT up on the building. So it's getting close, and we should be finished by the end of the year. I want to thank the Levine family for their recent donation to the EAP, Entrepreneur Acceleration Program. That's going to be a key endowment for the future. And we see a lot of hope and a lot of good projects coming out of the EAP. And I want to thank the Levines for that. Then the third thing, I want to thank JA, Junior Achievement. I appreciate y'all coming out today. They gave me a great award the other night, and JA is really special, but it's really my employees that deserve the award. They work through JA. If you don't know what JA does, y'all should look into JA. They're teaching the future leaders of Shreveport, and hopefully after today's video and Don Pearson's talk, you'll realize how much that we have going on in the city and what to look forward to, and how much we need these new leaders for the future. And that brings me here today, while we're here. BRF's mission since 1986 has been to grow and diversify their economy. We're going to put a little video together for you to give you a flavor about what we're doing, but there's no way to get that across in a 10-minute video. So when you leave today, please pick up our annual report and read the details about some of the things that we've done and some of our goals for the future in our 7 divisions that we run. The big thing that y'all came for is to hear our speaker today. And I do want to say a couple of words about Don, and then we're going to watch a video. But if it wasn't for LED, Louisiana Economic Development, really we wouldn't have any economic development at all. Don does a fabulous job of working with all the partners up here, NLEP, the BRF, individuals. They are the grease that makes everything happen in the engine, because if it wasn't for money and their incentives, there'd be no way for us to attract industry here. So please thank Don on his way out for all he does, not only for North Louisiana, but Louisiana as a state. So let's get on with the video, and then I'll introduce Don and let him do his speech. To have good economic development, we have to have quality of life aspects that people are drawn to the cities for.
We want to have a safe community. We want to have a thriving community as well, and it really starts with our economy.
You think of Louisiana, you think of New Orleans, you think of Baton Rouge, but up in the northern part of the state, you've got a huge metro population that people can really capitalize on. When I go and meet with people, there's such a great story to tell about Shreveport, and I think it's just a story that hasn't been told for a long time and one that's not communicated. BRF launched Shreveport Next in 2020 to actively recruit businesses to Shreveport-Bossier.
Our geographic location offers a lot of benefits. We have 2 interstates here, we have a river, we have a regional airport that also has international capabilities. So we have the intrinsic things that will make a company flourish here in Shreveport.
We've met with 100 businesses around the country. We've had over a dozen interested prospects our first year, and we've been working and communicating with them based on their project needs. And we recruited a company in our first year, Omicron Technology Solutions.
Omicron is a software developer. We operate in the GovTech, EdTech space. Customers are typically large cities, large municipalities, education systems, school boards, that kind of thing. And we develop products that meet their needs. Omicron chose Shreveport because it has a lot of benefits that a larger, bigger metropolitan city doesn't have. The infrastructure is set up to where you can be anywhere in 15 to 20 minutes. That makes things like raising a family here really convenient. There is a burgeoning, cultural scene here, whether that's food, arts. There's a lot of positives that Omicron saw in Shreveport, and that coupled with some of the more business-friendly incentives made it a good match for the company.
My wife and I moved here from the West Coast, and we chose to live in a place where we can walk to a coffee shop and walk to an elementary school and walk to a grocery store. And I think being able to find that unique mix of a location and a city that is really supportive of industry and really supportive of business, but also has those amenities like breweries, like coffee shops, like local markets, that's what's really unique about Shreveport.
EAP met with over 1,200 entrepreneurs and companies. We've provided services to over 400 companies since launching in 2014. EAP has a really long list of services that we provide entrepreneurs and companies in North Louisiana.
We can educate them, we can help them run their companies successfully, and we can help them get the funding that they need so that they can launch and be successful.
Since EAP started, it's existed to serve entrepreneurs in an accelerator capacity. So after a few years of doing that, we realized that we were really onto something in terms of being able to support entrepreneurs across the state.
That's one of the places where BRF and EAP has been outstanding. These companies are going to end up somewhere, or they are somewhere. And so to have an organization like BRF that understands what state incentives or local incentives, these kinds of things actually exist, they can make the case to these companies. We can make it very advantageous for you to do business in Louisiana.
I'm Dr. Eric Rippetoe. My company is Bishop, and we're here in downtown Shreveport, Louisiana. My product is a 3D printed knee brace based on a custom scan of the individual's leg so that you get exact proportions. EAP made the most sense for me. They understand business, and so they're more willing to see the intangibles in an entrepreneur and to invest in them and to support them the entire way.
EAP is not just here for you to launch. We're with you for the distance. We want you in North Louisiana, and we want you to be successful, and we want you to be here in 20 years.
The military is already spending something like $13 billion a year on services. Very, very little of it's being spent in Shreveport, Louisiana.
As an economic development organization, BRF is a strong supporter of Air Force Global Strike Command and Barksdale Air Force Base.
Barksdale Air Force Base is the only base in the country that has a major command headquarters with a 4-star, a numbered Air Force, and 2 wings, one an operational wing and one a training wing.
This is North Louisiana's largest industry with over 9,000 service members and civilians.
Working with John George, Dave Smith, and General Elder, we decided to go out to try to get more money for this defense initiative to try to bring together private enterprise and our government, specifically Global Strike Command.
We're working with our delegation, Senator John Kennedy, Senator Bill Cassidy, and Representative Mike Johnson to secure appropriations for Air Force Global Strike.
Appropriations funding, such as what the BRF is working on, is very important and very valuable because these programs come out of a research and development state, and you see the importance and the value to the Air Force and to the different private sectors. But in order to get them there is that additional funding that is required to advance the programs.
So my ultimate goal is that we're going to make it really easy for companies that have super innovative technologies, bring those technologies to the government to use for defense.
Our thought is, hey, why can't we help recruit companies for Air Force Global Strike and get them in touch with LED, Louisiana Economic Development, to cohesively have an attack on bringing, high-tech companies to Shreveport.
Our core focus is assisting our government, its agencies, and the military in modernizing systems to be more competitive in today's day and age. And we expect that, especially in our government work, we're going to double our workforce over the next 3 years.
We're working with a lot of community partners, and it takes a lot of collaboration to make and build a defense industry around Air Force Global Strike Command.
It's a win-win for everybody. And I really thank BRF in trying to bring together a defense initiative here in Northwest Louisiana for our warfighters and specifically Global Strike Command.
One of the things we do is we try to find holes in our economy and to fill those holes to support the overall ecosystem. So when I went out to Los Angeles, they're all about digital media and they're doing visual effects.
Here at BRF and DMI, we're really excited about the opportunity to be a leader in the digital media education space throughout the state of Louisiana.
DMI is just a shoe-in for distance learning, and there's no reason why we can't offer this kind of educational opportunity to all the kids throughout the state.
This is a grant through LED that will allow us to expand the animation and visual effects program to a statewide audience online and also make it available through distance classrooms at the University of New Orleans campus, Nunez Community College campus, and also the NSU campus in Natchitoches.
This is going to provide opportunities for students across our entire state. By being leaders in the online space, it allows us to have partnerships with visionaries like those coming from DMI. I believe that this is really going to be a game changer.
The Entertainment Development Fund was launched this year to boost workforce development and provide education and to give opportunities to our state's content creators like those at BRF's Digital Media Institute for their commitment to providing more opportunities for Louisiana residents to obtain the education and training needed to contribute and power our state's entertainment industry.
I'm so excited to share with you that CMIT is expanding its footprint not only to consolidate 3 arms of its program in one building, but also equipping this building with state-of-the-art equipment to be able to produce a lot more different type of radiopharmaceutical for targeting different disease. A few years ago, we got engaged in collaboration with one of the endocrinologists at Cook's Children's Hospital in Fort Worth, Texas.
Well, we're very excited that recently we got announced to be one of the 6 Center of Excellence for the treatment of hyperinsulinism in the world. And indeed, the natural history of this condition is that 40 to 60% of children who have it will be brain damaged. Of course, one of our goals with treatment is to prevent brain damage and to prevent ongoing hypoglycemia, and that's where our collaboration with BRF in making 18F-DOPA for our 18F-DOPA study has really helped us to cure patients with focal disease. And once they're cured, of course, there's no ongoing hypoglycemia, and thus you eliminate the risks of ongoing brain damage.
So CMIT has been doing PET scans or was engaged in a lot of the clinical studies in Alzheimer's patients. The good news is recently we established a new collaboration with Dr. Roger Kelly at LSU Ochsner. So we are the only PET imaging center who is involved under IDEA study to recruit Alzheimer's patients for this study.
It's a very good collaboration with, some focus on pragmatic information. CMIT produces the tracer because Alzheimer's is such a devastating disease. We all know that. And if we're able to potentially stop it in its tracks and potentially find agents that can help cause some repair, it's an absolute blessing. We want to be an identified center because it allows us to provide these services in imaging and agents available to the patients locally so they don't have to travel to other parts of the country.
We're happy to have partnered with the City of Shreveport for the $5.36 million watershed grant to remediate flooding of critical facilities and neighborhoods.
The Shreveport Healthcare and Development Corridor is a key piece of infrastructure in Shreveport. We can turn this essential component of our community into an economic engine that fuels economic growth.
All these initiatives are beneficial to our community, and we're not only going to see the area of the Kings Highway corridor change, but the whole city change. It's amazing what I think is going to happen in the next 10 years.
We as a community working together can build a place where there are high-paying technology jobs in North Louisiana.
The BRF is probably one of the most misunderstood organizations in the community. What we really are is support for people. We're support for the military. We're support for the startups. We're support for ongoing businesses that need expansion. We're support for fundraising for entrepreneurs.
And the way that we make this community safer and the way that we have a thriving economy is making sure we focus on those industries of the future, which include technology. BRF is a critical part of our economy and a critical part of Shreveport's story going forward.
We hope that this synergy will catch on and the whole ecosystem will start working on its own. We believe if we continue to bring jobs here, people will come and Shreveport will thrive. Now, for what we're really here to do tonight. In your program that's sitting on your table, you can read about Don Pearson, so I'm not going to go into all those details. Don is a Bossier resident a long time ago. We've been knowing each other for a long time, and it truly is a partner for North Louisiana, and we need to be very appreciative of that. Some of the highlights of Don's reign since July 2016, attracting economic development projects resulting in over 35,000 new jobs, 34 retained jobs, and $41 billion in new capital investment. Also, Don was recognized in 2018 by Southern Economic Development Council with the highest award, Honorary Life Member, for his career accomplishments. I particularly appreciate all that he's done and working to do to advance North Louisiana economic growth with the BRF and other economic development organizations. He has been a true advocate for our region. So we're glad to have you today as our speaker. Welcome, Don Pearson.
Wow, after that amazing video, I don't know if there's a lot that I can really add at this point. But maybe some of this can be confirmation that you are indeed on a great track, on the right track here in Northwest Louisiana. The friends, colleagues, elected leaders that are all here, part of a big team that make economic development happen. Since coming to work for Governor Edwards' administration, I've been about that team building exercise, because that's what economic development is. It's a team sport, and it takes all of the components, many of those that you've touched on here in this introductory video today. But I would highlight the foundation of education that is also a very, very critical component of economic development. We're in a world where technology moves quickly in all fields, and so the ability to bring forward through customized training programs, coursework in our educational facilities is absolutely critical to what we do. We have seen some success in Northwest Louisiana, and I think it's important to stop and recognize that and take a day like today with an annual report, which is in large part an accountability measure. What have you been about this year? What were your successes? What are you presently engaged in? And tell me that vision. Where are we going? What's next? How do we maintain in a global economy where everything's competitive? We're competing here with other states, with other nations, and I'm fond of saying, if the technology train passes you by, it doesn't circle back to pick you up. If you miss an opportunity, you fall behind, and you can fall further and further. And we're not going to allow that to happen. So what makes an economy a strong economy? Well, number one is a diverse economy. Have, so to speak, not all your eggs in one basket. Again, in Shreveport in Northwest Louisiana, sometimes we forget about all the good things that are happening around us. Maybe drive on I-20 and pass Libby Glass. Don't have those jobs here anymore. Wish we did. Glass is very popular in Europe, but not so popular here in the US. You go in the grocery store, the baby food's in a tube. The mayonnaise is in a plastic jar now. More cans of beer and not bottles of beer. You get the drift. Glass has been one of those commodities that's gone away from us. So we've got to be looking for those replacements. And we've been fortunate to recognize and find new industries here. It was touched on how important Barksdale Air Force Base is to not only America, defender of our nation and our freedoms, but an economic driver for Northwest Louisiana. And here, I don't lose track or sight of, you're in the 4th Congressional District, which is also Fort Polk, and the tremendous amount of defense that it also represents as the Joint Readiness Training Center, where every combat brigade that deploys goes through training and annual updates at Fort Polk, Louisiana. And together, they contribute a very, very significant amount of employment and revenue to our state. I think a little later today, we'll release the economic impact statement that'll show $9.64 billion in annual economic impact from our military installations, representing direct and indirect jobs of about 77,000 across our state. And you heard General Elder speak to the importance of Global Strike Command here in Northwest Louisiana and the importance of that. And we're fortunate to have a delegation that works for us in Washington to continue to bring the important update dollars to a new entrance to Barksdale Air Force Base, to a new weapons generation system and facility there. We don't store munitions there the way we need to anymore. Fell into disrepair. And fortunately, our congressmen and our senators have been working together to fix that, direct the appropriate funds there, get that built and restored. You don't even want to think about a future in Northwest Louisiana without Barksdale Air Force Base being a part of that. The Caddo Bossier Port, another great story. Too many people do drive past Libby, or what was once a thriving GM operation, but they don't tend to drive by the Caddo Bossier Port, which is this tremendous industrial engine for the region. And quite interesting, there's a lot of international investment out there. Pratt, the recycled paper plant, Australia. Ternium, headquartered in Monterrey, Mexico. Bentler Steel, you know, one that's particularly I'm fond of. We helped bring that major operation here, but from Germany. And so the footprint for Northwest Louisiana includes incorporation of international investment. And bringing those dollars here is, again, an important part of our work. We put a focus on our rural communities, okay? This is great for Northwest Louisiana. You don't want just an urban center. You want the success to be felt throughout all of our parishes throughout Northwest Louisiana. And so with a website that we have called ruralevolution.com, we're focusing on some of the success stories that we're having all across the state. Here points out a few of those, and happy to have them. These new wood mills that are put in place at 140 million or more, the computer looks at that log and checks it for how it can harvest the highest dollar value out of that. If 2x6s or 2x12s or whatever the wood dimension that's trading in the commodities market, that's what it's going to produce. And then as the waste material falls away, that's sold to our pulp and paper mills. And then there's a further component of waste that's collected and in many cases pelletized. These pellets are put on rail cars in Louisiana and moved to the Port of Baton Rouge. If you take the bridge in and you see these two white domes out there at the foot of the bridge, those are storage vessels for these wood pellets that are then shipped to the United Kingdom and burned as renewable fuel to power their electricity. Wood waste from Louisiana bringing dollars back into our economy in so many different ways. Certainly Shreveport's no stranger to the entertainment industry. We continue to focus on that, but we do it in important ways that John George pointed out in the video now, with digital effects being a component there, a lot of different components. But certainly we'll continue to drive a diverse set of jobs for our young people. Not everybody's going to want to do information technology or work in a plant. So the idea that there's a wide array in that portfolio of available jobs to young people is an important component here. You hear a lot, and I want to show you a brief video. Let me set it up with the next button push. But there's a transition ongoing in our state. Our state's long been a leader in the energy industry, number 2 producer of oil and gas in the nation. Shreveport's been an energy hub for a number of years. But today, the global realities are putting more pressure on the reducing of the greenhouse gases and finding more renewable resources to power our economy. And don't get me wrong, the hydrocarbon molecule is not going away. We're not shutting down oil and gas. In fact, that's your feedstock for so many of the things that drive life. Your homes, your cars, your healthcare. All of these things require a great deal of composites and plastics and things that are going to be in demand for as far as the eye can see. Will we do less refined fuels? Will we have electric cars? Yes. We won't do as much of that pathway to energy burning through traditional oil and gas. But along the way, we're going to transition in this economy into a new phase. And in this, Louisiana can be a leader. Importantly, in a new technology called carbon capture and sequestration. Basically what that is, and it takes about a 20-minute class, I'm not going to do that, but if you go down way below the drinking water level, 1,000 feet, in certain areas you have some salt water, and you can trap the CO2, pump it down there, and take it out of the greenhouse gas emissions and sequester it. And this unique geology is something that we're blessed to have a lot of in Louisiana. It also helps if you have pipelines that can move the various components, either CO2, or as we transition to a hydrogen-based fuel system. Because if you can power your car or your ship or your truck with hydrogen and you burn that hydrogen, the output is H2O, water. So very much not a threat to the planet the way that the greenhouse gases appear to be. So take a quick look at some of our discussion around this.
We're here today to announce a significant investment. We're talking in the billions of dollars. Air Products has decided to invest $4.5 billion to develop a clean energy complex near Burnside in Ascension Parish, which will be the world's largest permanent carbon dioxide sequestration endeavor to date. This project represents a tremendously important step for our ongoing expansion into clean energy opportunities here in Louisiana, as we seek to continue to draw in investment dollars to create jobs, to be leaders in energy, but also to reduce our carbon footprint. We're on our way with several large-scale projects in the renewable fuels and renewable energy sectors on the drawing board. In recent months, we've seen plans to have major projects in renewables in West Baton Rouge and Caldwell and St. Bernard, St. Charles. Just yesterday, we marked the expansion of the REG biodiesel plant in Geismar. And it's one of the areas where, and there are many, but this is one of the areas where we can outcompete any other state in the nation. To help avoid the effects of climate change, we've set a goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2030 by 40 to 50%, and by 2050 to 2005 levels. That's at net zero that you hear about. And that is a tall order, but it is achievable. But it's only achievable if you take concrete steps. And we know it won't happen overnight, but it is exactly the right thing to do for our state, for the world, and it's the right thing to do for our economy.
So Louisiana Net Zero is a website now where you'll see a number of our success stories in renewable energy and in these new technologies. And there's some that are having conversations in Northwest Louisiana as we speak. So a new frontier to join and engage. Lots of reasons to locate in Northwest Louisiana. John's video certainly highlighted a number of those. We're pleased to partner with those. Certainly the IT, cybersecurity, the digital world cuts across all fields. Medicine, transportation. We're working on a project right now in Louisiana called Smart Port. We want to take all the way up the Red River to the Caddo-Bossier Port. This idea that we're able to track the depth of the river so that commerce is not impeded. It's great that the Corps of Engineers will come by once a month and check it out, but the lower Mississippi River channel and all the tributaries to conclude the 5 locks and dams on the Red River have taken these depth finders that are already on the tugboats that are pushing these barges and used it to measure the depth. Captain of that tugboat needs to know that. But with a real small device on top of that depth finder, shoot that up into the cloud, grab it, aggregate it, big data, artificial intelligence, and come back with a map that's showing you what the depths of the river are at certain times. I mean, rainfall, all types of droughts, other things can influence, where the depth of the river changes. And what happens when a ship or a barge or a tug runs aground and somebody's got to come unload it so that it'll lift and they can get it unstuck, costs a lot of money. So what we can now think of, you might use that driving application Waze, Waze on the river for this real-time look at the depth that can save a lot of commerce dollars is being developed. What's next? We'll integrate weather data into that and eventually logistics elements as well, so that if there's a storm in the Gulf and the people at Bentler are waiting on a load of steel, there'll be a better way to predict and understand when your products will get here. Smart Port. You'd think this was being done in Long Beach or New York or somewhere else. No, Louisiana is a leader in that. And it relates to this work that we're doing in the digital field where across the board, gathering workforce that can be effective in cybersecurity, in all the programming that goes into everything from elevators to heart monitors now. It's a key component. We were so pleased to work with LSUS and upgrade their computer facility here about 1.5 years ago. Same thing over at Grambling that we were able to do. A lot of the software programs at Bossier Parish Community College that are being executed for students that want to gain certificates in certain software languages. Great things are happening in Northwest Louisiana. Advanced manufacturing. I was pleased to hear about a 3D printing for a knee brace as part of what EAP is doing. Great example of advanced manufacturing, doing things in new and different ways. But certainly there's no shortage of that, and there's no shortage of trying to recruit additional investments of this type into the area. I was hopeful that on today we'd be able to announce one of those to you, but I'm just have to leave that with you as a teaser. But my prediction is before the month's out, you're going to see a new announcement here that's going to be of a significant investment and one that'll again have a IT driver as part of it. You don't have to necessarily believe me and the EAP staff and the BRF staff. Dr. Scott is confirming, I think, what we see as a lot of promise for the economy of Northwest Louisiana. Small business is big business to us. We work in tandem with a lot of the partners that we have here. think I saw Angie White out there somewhere with an LEP. But our partners here are often the SBA. But in this particular case, the U.S. Treasury, as part of the American Recovery Act, is going to bring what we believe to be a $74 million allocation to Louisiana for powering small businesses. That money will be used in a variety of ways. We've got a lot of conversations and focus groups right now to be sure that we come up with programs that integrate well with the Treasury's guidance around this. But certainly one of the things that put us in the lead position here was how well we handled similar funds that were awarded in 2010. And we will be doing that through the Louisiana Economic Development Corporation. We've got some LEDC board members here today that are going to help shape what we do with the funding. But certainly we've been active with banks all across the state with loan guarantee programs. That gives the bank an advantage of a de-risking situation where the state will take part of the liability with this loan guarantee fund. So we'll be able to reinforce that. Certainly we want to see some micro lending and some programs that can help power some of our women, minority, and veteran-owned businesses with stronger asset allocations. And then we've been absent largely from the venture capital investments for some time. I don't know if Ross Barrett is here with us today. He helps manage Louisiana One, which is one of the venture capital programs that we set up a number of years ago. But now with this new infusion of funds, I think we're going to be able to come back and do more with both our existing venture capital organizations that are out there and also be able to explore possibilities with new ones. So this is quite a significant development that's coming our way that's going to help the small businesses throughout Northwest Louisiana. So there's a lot in the pipeline. Again, teasers that I can't necessarily speak to you about, but please be sure that you know that those are there. Great appreciation to all the elected leaders that play such an important role in all of our projects. In Baton Rouge, allocations to the budget that drives LED, that gives us the staff and the capacity to go forward and do these things. Also, that powers our incentive programs that help us when we compete. Some people would argue that you don't need incentives. And I'd say, well, that's maybe true if no one else has them either. But we don't find ourselves in that position. And certainly what we do very carefully with a lot of accountability and trying to make sure that these dollars that really represent taxpayer dollars are well invested and bring a return on that investment back to the community. So we're going to continue on that pathway to recruit these companies, to look forward. Life Sciences, LouisianaLifeSciences.com. We know that that's a big role for the Biomedical Research Foundation, but take a look at that website if you get a chance. I think it helps illuminate the record of not just BRF, but of the Health Science Center, of what's happening with Tulane, with primate centers that we have, the development of some of the vaccines that contributed to being able to address the COVID pandemic. We've got some exciting things that are happening out there across our state in life sciences. It's one of those newer frontiers that we want to move against. We talked about advanced manufacturing. Water management was touched on here as well. There's a lot to do in the water sector, and we'll continue to do that. We heard about green energy and information technology. That's ways that we're pushing the future. We're doing that in coordination with great organizations across our state, such as BRF, and then also in partnership, very importantly, with our educational institutions. That's going to build that strong foundation for tomorrow. That's going to build the vibrant economy that we all want for our state. Thank you for spending some time with us today.
want to thank Don for that. I will tell you that Don has also been instrumental in getting the governor to put Terry Moore and I on the LEDC board, the corporation, to help integrate in North Louisiana, understand all the assets he has to move around the state. It's been very eye-opening to me and Terry to learn that. So I thank Don again. After getting involved in this, I'm here to tell you that Don Pearson is a big partner of ours. Of course, he's a big partner of the whole state, but I'm telling you, he's really worked hard to integrate us, to help us figure it out. I've talked to Justin Dixon with NLEP. There's some individuals here that also do economic development, the city, and they're all pulling together, and I just see, the future as being very bright. Now, thank you, Don, one more time. Now, I'd like to get Terry Moore up here. We need to do a special recognition. Terry is our incoming board chair, and Lennis will be our outgoing board chair. And these people are some of the finest you want to meet. Their decision-making skills are impeccable. Get that out of the way so I need it.
We would now like to honor our outgoing chairman, Lennis Elston, with a gift and a few words. Lennis has been a very engaged leader. She's independent, she's professional, and she has been a decision maker that has continually asked important and many times critical questions that have helped guide the board's decisions and the decision-making process. We're greatly indebted to your many contributions that have helped significantly advance the BRF's mission. On behalf of the BRF Board of Directors, I am honored to present you with this token of our appreciation that has the following inscription. With our deepest appreciation, the BRF hereby honors Lennis S. Elston, CPA, Chairman, 2019-2021, for your thoughtful guidance, exceptional leadership, and unconditional commitment serving as a board member and chairman of the BRF Board of Directors. Thank you, Lennis.
We'll take a picture later.
Ready for me to close it down?
Yes.
Okay. My question to him was, are you ready for me to close it down? If the answer was yes, I think I've been given 3 minutes to not only thank you profusely, but just make a couple of personal remarks. I'm fairly new, really, to the BRF. I work around some people in the BRF that have been here more than 20 years. I think I've been around 7 years. And it is probably the most significant, effective board I've ever served on. And I've spent a lot of time just trying to think about what makes it so special. You've seen all these things, and you see our results. And so I've thought a lot about that. And I have to go back to the day I joined the board. I didn't even know what the BRF was. A lot of y'all may not be able to say what the BRF is, but I hope you will when you leave here. And when I was asked to join the board, I came because of the people that asked me to join the board. And I thought a lot of them. I had a hard time kind of wrapping my brain around the finances when I first got to the BRF, even though I've spent the better part of my life being a CPA. And I thought I understood finances fairly easily. The BRF had just made a courageous decision when I got here to buy 2 charity hospitals. You may remember that Bobby Jindal said, privatize those charity hospitals, get them out of the state. No one stepped forward to buy the 2 in Northwest Louisiana. Our leader, John George, was determined to do something about that. And he said, the BRF will just buy those hospitals, period. That was my first quick introduction into what was different about the BRF. In a nutshell, the leadership looks at issues quickly and competently, addresses where it's something that the BRF should even look at. Then it engages its incredible staff. And sometimes when I say staff, I mean paid and unpaid, because we can't tell the difference sometimes when we're in a room solving problems. They're all just incredible. We have financial analysts, accountants, marketing professionals, legals, entrepreneurs extraordinaire, business professionals, medical professionals, to attack an issue. And this happens all the time inside the BRF, so seamlessly sometimes that the public may not be aware that we're doing anything. Best kept secret in town? Yeah, probably, even with John George at our helm. I said to someone recently, we may not always know, and maybe Dr. George doesn't always know exactly where he's leading us, but we're going to eventually get there because it has, in my opinion, the BRF has leadership in spades. We have competence, character, caring, and my favorite word, courage. And that's the one I value the most. What a privilege it is for me to serve the competent and caring individuals who are determined to make a difference and have the courage to do it. So what was I incredibly impressed with when I existed in this organization that made it different? What was different was that it made a difference. And I challenge you to think about the organizations that you serve on. Do they make a difference? Does what they do matter? Those I've served with in my fairly short tenure on the board are simply the best that I've ever found accumulated all in the same place. Most of them are homegrown. Most of them have bloomed where they were planted. And you can't tell the paid staff from the volunteers. All the minds in the room are simply the best. They have vision and are ambitious for the BRF. They know how to figure out how to do it. How many nonprofit boards do you sit on that really have this skill? And they surround themselves with competent individuals and resources. I look up on the boardroom sometime and look at those that had the job previously before I'm finishing up my 2 years right here coming up in December. And I look at those people and I realize they are the best of the best. Some of those I've been privileged to work with very closely in my time on the board. I'm going to embarrass you by just mentioning those of you that I've worked so closely who have had the job I have. Malcolm Murkison, I saw you, Steve Scrivanos, Art Thompson, Don Jones. Yeah, they're all men, but that's a non-issue for me. They're the best. They're just the best. From our annual report, which y'all are going to get, you will see You'll see that our initiatives span business recruitment, entrepreneur developments, workforce training, site development, pioneering biomedical technology. We keep our focus on what's on this: start, recruit, and retain companies. That's what we do. We're either going to start them up with the help of our EAP initiative, we'll recruit them with our Shreveport Next, or we'll retain them. You can look on these and just look at some of our initiatives, the CMIT, the EAP, which is the Entrepreneurial Accelerator Startup, Shreveport Next, and DMII. It has been an honor to serve as the chair of the BRF for these 2 years. I look forward to the next 2 because I get to be the past chairman for 2 years with Terry, wherever he went, as our chair. I suggest to each of you, if anyone ever knocks on your door and says, would you like to serve on the board of the BRF, just say yes. You will not be disappointed.
That concludes today's program. Thank you all so much for coming here.